Hello and welcome to the Adventure Games Podcast. My name is Shorter Than Bar and I'm your host. Well, I am joined as always by Thomas Bex and Laura Kress. So, hello people, how are you?
Hello.
Hi people.
Hello, it's
Howdy,
well,
folks.
Hi questers.
well, here we are again. Another 2 weeks have gone by, and a lot has happened in the time since we last recorded. It seems like this is a very, very, well, so one case a very long year.
Yeah.
But because then I just told a friend of mine. I said, "Can you believe that bushfires in Australia were this year?" And
Oh man,
That was just January. I mean,
that was January. That was
It
2020.
went from bad to worse.
Oh gosh, wow, that's crazy when you think about that. That seems like another year ago.
I mean, at this stage, I would not be surprised if the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse literally came down. I would nearly welcome them at this stage.
They basically have. I mean, yeah.
But yeah, no. Two weeks ago in our review episode, I mentioned that at the top of the episode about the Black Lives Matter movement, because that restarted occurring. We record 1 week in advance, so let's see what will happen next week. But again, I think it's important to kind of address it now. What's happening in the world, particularly in the US, but this has spreads around the world. And now we'd have some links because I mentioned 2 weeks ago that PC Gamers had an article with some advice, with some places, first of all, which you could donate if you wished. I also had some reading material if people wanted to, educate themselves. And they also had some advice, some links and advice on how to protest safely, which I think would be useful for everybody around the world. And Laura, you were mentioning a Twitter feed as well that people might be interested in.
Yeah, definitely. So this is a UK one as well. It's called Black Girl Gamers, which I've been aware of previously. And it's basically sort of how they've portrayed it is heightening Black women's voices in gaming. So it kind of encourages, they've got like a Twitch stream of Black Girl Gamers, and it kind of just highlights, what it says on the tin, Black Girl Gamers. But yeah, you can follow them on Twitch. They're on Twitter as well. And it's just kind of encouraging that side of it. It's not just gamers, but obviously developers. So anything kind of related to that industry. Obviously, women who maybe sometimes don't get as much of a sort of spotlight in the gaming world, although that's changing, and Black women in particular. So it's just kind of highlighting those voices. And yeah, they've got a really good Twitch stream as well, which they play lots of different games. So yeah, it's worth a follow and just checking out either on Twitter or on Twitch.
Very nice. Yeah, definitely. I think we can get behind that. And then at Adventure X, 2 years ago, I believe her name was Chela Ramanan. She gave a very interesting talk about Afro-tourism, I believe, or Afrofuturism, and Black protagonists in games. And she spoke about that then as well, which was very, very interesting. And also there was a bundle. Now, by the time this episode goes up, it probably won't be available, but on itch.io, I believe all 3 of us got it. It had it's over 750 games.
And it's 1,500 now. Over
Wow.
1,500
Is it added?
content. Yeah.
Wow.
I just checked it like right before we went live, and it's now over 1,500 pieces of content of all kinds of stuff. And if you bought it before, you still get all that content, because when we bought it, it was 760 or something. And so it doubled in the meantime. And I think they are raising money for the NAACP, if I'm not mistaken. And they are now, and I'll quickly open that site to see what the amount is at this recording. So that's the bundle for racial justice and equality. They are aiming for a $5 million goal. They are now at $4.92 million. And that is with 4 days and 11 hours left. There are some very, very, very interesting games, demos. I see here 2064 read-only memories. Oxenfree is in there. Overland. That's just 3 games that by itself are already more than you have to pay, worth more than you have to pay for this bundle. So go out there, get this bundle, and
they probably won't
serve a good cause. If you haven't, of course, because by the time this comes out,
I mean, you never know. They may extend it.
They may extend it. Hopefully, they will. But I want to give a shout out to all of these developers. In any case, I mean, there's some. Not all of them are adventure games, but there's some really interesting games, as you mentioned, Thomas. There is also Night in the Woods. There is Celeste. There is Overland, and again, plenty of games as well. I mean, this bundle would. I mean, all of these games together would normally could have cost like well over 100 or
I think they said
almost 6,000 dollars in value now.
So hopefully it can be extended by the time this episode. But if not, then thank you to all the developers for doing this. And then finally, before we move on to adventure game reviews, I will also include there's an article which also talks about the most interesting black protagonists in games. And of course, one of them is probably my favorite protagonist in any game. It is Clementine from The Walking Dead. So really
well written character.
Yes, most definitely. So now before we get to the reviews, and I was again on Facebook on one of the point and click adventure game groups, there was a poll that one person did, and now the question was, what was the worst adventure game that you play? Now, I'm not going to name any games, certainly not recent games, but there's some interesting results. There's some games
Myst?
Like, yes, Myst was up there. Such a surprise, right?
Not to us.
Well, I don't have it right in front of me, but I know that Escape from Monkey Island, of course, that
always gets in there, doesn't it?
Yeah, and The Dig was also included. A lot of people included that. And now the number one game that was the worst, according to people, the worst worst adventure game was Leisure Suit Larry Box Office Bust. And from what I've read about it, I would I don't think I'll ever be playing that game. It got some terrible reviews, and Allo himself wasn't happy when I spoke with him. He's saying that they didn't really include what was so good about the Larry games. And but I'm surprised so many people played it. But
probably something to do with when you have a really good movie, and then the sequel is not good, but everybody went to see it because they did not know yet that it wasn't good. Do you understand what I mean?
Yes, there are a lot of people probably bought it because of the name. Now, Allo was not involved in that game at all, or Magna Cum Laude, and or the most recent game. But the most recent game, I believe, was much better.
I played that one, and that one was pretty good.
That was better, because they had what was good about Leisure Suit Larry. But interestingly, in second place of the worst adventure game ever made was all games in 3D, which I find really depressing.
What? That's ridiculous. What a generic rubbish statement.
Yeah. Well, I was about to know, I don't know if this was included as a joke, but I was about to ask you guys your thoughts on this. That this was second place, that in the year 2020, that people who voted in this poll, adventure game players, still think that all games in 3D basically suck. Are terrible.
It's just such a boring, tired statement from people who don't understand adventure games and just can't be bothered. That's my take on it.
I mean, I would agree. I have no problem with people who prefer games in 2D to 3D. I can completely understand that, but it is getting tiring listening to people completely dismiss adventure games in 3D because they always use Escape from Monkey Island, Simon the Sorcerer 3D, or Gabriel Knight 3. Those 3 games people always use to basically beat 3D with.
And how old are these games now?
Exactly. Over 20 years ago.
On any other sort of genre of or subgenre, you wouldn't like choose 3 games and be like, well, because these 3 games suck, then the whole rest of the genre is terrible.
It's funny, because if you talk about first-person shooters, a lot of people are saying, yeah, GoldenEye was one of the best ever. Trust me, if you play GoldenEye now,
you can't. I tried
not good.
The controls are bad, really bad.
I've never played it.
It looks terrible.
I mean,
it's 3D. It looks terrible.
And it's very difficult to control. You can't. I don't know how people managed it. I remember playing it back then and I thought it was great, but now it's impossible.
I never actually played it, but yeah, it's just weird that people like I have plenty of other games to play to keep me occupied, but it's just weird because then on I think that Facebook group there was another person who wrote a very, shall we say, reasonable, balanced comment. Basically, it was an expletive-ridden swear. Most of it was swears, actually. Basically, of like, F you, LucasArts, Escape from Monkey Island sucks. We all think the same. And how dare they do this? It was awful. Long live 2D and 100 exclamation marks.
Yeah, but how sad is it that you get so worked up over a game that maybe wasn't very good from 30 years ago?
20 years ago. Yeah,
20 years or 25 years ago. It was last century. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, I had issues with that game. I mean, if you want to talk about Monkey Combat, I did not like that. I think that was ill-advised to put in. And sure, I think one of the reasons might be because Curse of Monkey Island, and then with Gabriel Knight as well, and Simon the Sorcerer, the first games had beautiful 2D pixel art graphics, which a lot of people love. But certainly with Escape from Monkey Island, I don't think the graphics were that bad. It's not as nice as maybe Curse of Monkey Island or the first 2 Monkey Islands. But I just don't get this, for me, irrational hatred that some people seem to have, because they're way worse games. Instead, it's not the best Monkey Island. It probably would be in my top 10 adventure games. But I don't hate it, and I don't think it deserves this hatred that people seem to have. But then if, people still think that 3D it doesn't work in adventure games, what I would tell people is check out Return of the Obra Dinn, which is 3D, and you don't even notice it's 3D.
Firewatch.
Firewatch, Heaven's
Vault.
Psychonauts.
Gone Home.
Exactly. Yeah, which we'll talk about later. And Nick Bounty, there's many. Nick Bounty was released this year, which I played again, and it's in black and white. It plays well. It looks really well. And again, you don't even notice if it's in 2D or 3D. So I think that's enough time that I think we should give to this topic. That's hopefully the last we'll hear. But
complete amateurs.
Well, let's end this discussion by welcoming everybody into the 21st century and judging the games that come out now by their merits and by the game itself and not by its trailer. So, come on, guys. We're past
2020, guys. Come on.
Well, speaking of that, the final thing I'll say is, have you guys seen the new trailer for Beyond the Steel Sky?
Yes.
It's now we'll probably have spoken
3D.
about it. Yes, actually, people were talking about it, and I mentioned that when I saw this latest trailer, that it looks better than the early screenshots and early videos, and I thought it looked well. Those ones did look well as well, but then I saw these on Facebook, they seem to be the most hardcore adventure game players, so I don't think they're representative of the majority of players. But some of them were saying, I'm not feeling it. It looks like a Telltale game, which I think is not a problem if it does. But they're saying...
Is that supposed to be an insult?
Insult, yeah.
Yeah, I don't get that either.
And someone said, I think they should go pixel art with this game. I don't know why they're going 3D. And they're saying, one person said, I might get it when it's on sale for $1. I'm sure Revolution are concerned, but... now, I don't believe this is representative of the majority of adventure game players, but just want to point it out there. There still seems to be some people who are resistant to 3D in adventure games. But anyway, I think that's all that that we'll talk about this topic. So,
but yeah, that Beyond the Steel Sky looked very, very good, and I think this is going to be a day one buy.
Oh
certainly.
yeah.
Now, I haven't played it. I know you've played it, Laura. I don't know. It might still not turn out great. Hopefully, it won't. Hopefully, it turn out to be really good.
I had a couple of concerns from the demo, but from the preview, but there was bits of it that gave me hope that that would override it. I was glad as you say in the trailer, there were new scenes that weren't shown in the preview, because I was like, oh god, if they're just going to show scenes again that I've seen in the preview, I'm going to be thinking, where is the rest of this game? But they did show new scenes. They showed Joey who turned up. Which you may know if you've played Beneath.
Yes.
But yeah, so I'll be... The one thing is with 3D, it is sometimes... I think it's harder, because you're having to animate a lot facially. Sometimes it's harder to get that kind of emotion and expression. And that's what sometimes make 3D games feel a little bit dead, maybe sometimes, which was the issue, I think, with Escape a little bit, as well as other things like Monkey Combat. But if they could, and I did feel that a little bit sometimes when I was playing Beyond, but I'm just hoping there'll be enough going on to kind of fill that, and the fact that you have got this whole other space to wander around in. Hopefully, hopefully they just take their time with it, because I still, even on that trailer, they didn't say when it's coming out. I don't think they just said coming soon. So they're building up the tension a bit, but not yet. We don't have a date yet.
I mean, coming soon could be in 2 months, next year.
They've done well there. They've been very vague with what that means. But yeah,
I hope they take all the time they need to create a good game. I will play it when it comes out, and if that's next month, I will play it next month, and if that's next year, I will play it next year. I am not worried at all.
Exactly. No, I agree entirely that they can take their time, as much time as needed, to make sure they iron out all the bugs and everything and make it as good as possible. So
don't go crunching, people. Don't crunch.
No, hopefully Revolution don't do that. They seem to be a good company. So, okay. So now we can finally get to reviews. So now before, Laura, I know that you were going to talk about Short Hike and other games as well, but I played a game called Night Fisherman, which was part of this bundle we spoke about. It's a very short 10-minute game. I don't want to say too much about the story because it's so short and because there are twists and turns in the game, but basically you play as a night fisherman and you meet a guy then coming on a boat who has a gun, and you get talking to him. And then you have to see, you find out who he is and what he wants. And it manages in 10 minutes to tell a story, and it ratchets up the tension. It's from the developers of Ring of Fire, the demo which we reviewed a few months ago. And so this game I really like. It's a simple game. It's a dialogue-driven game. And it's mainly telling the story now. It also deals with what we were talking about at the beginning. It deals with, racism as well and that as well. And it manages to cover all of this within 10 minutes. And I would really encourage everyone to play it. It is part from being part of this bundle. I believe you can get it for free on itch.io. It's just 10, 15 minutes, but it's a really, really interesting game. And it'll definitely make you think about the state of the world. And it's a game that had a big effect on me. So I would definitely recommend. The graphics look really good in it because this game, I believe, made for a game jam that is made in a day or a week or something. And one interesting thing about this game is during the conversation, during the dialogue, you could change the camera angles. And that actually comes into play in the game towards the end of that. But it's just kind of nice that as they're talking, you can just click a button and change the camera angles, and you'd see more of the scene then as well. So it's a really interesting premise and a really interesting game that, again, what they managed to do in 10 minutes, which is what more than a lot of games can make in 10 hours. So it shows that there is a place for short games like these, and these games can also have a lasting effect on players as well. So I would definitely recommend people check it out. And so that's The Night Fisherman, which is available on itch.io. And so, Laura, you played two games. Well, you played Discolored as well, a game which...
Three,
you played more. 3. But 2 games that you played now, well, just you this time. I've played Discolored a few months ago,
Yeah.
but you played that recently as well. So just wanted to get your thoughts on this game. What did you think about this game?
Yeah, it's interesting. So I actually first started playing it on Apple Arcade on my iPad, but I actually found it quite difficult to play it on that, and I bought it on Steam instead to play on the PC because I found it quite difficult on the iPad to be like moving and looking around, and it wasn't as fluid. And you do need to look around quite a lot on that game. So as you've said, George has obviously played it and discussed it before. So I mean, if you haven't heard of it, it's basically the idea. It's kind of a puzzle game, a bit similar to things like I suppose.
Myth?
What else would the wit? Yeah, well, no,
No, that's not fair.
Like The Witness, I think it's quite similar to it reminded me a lot of The Witness. But basically, you're at this roadside diner, and all the color is gone. In the sort of world you're in, you're stuck in this one scene. You can't move it outside of this one space, and you have to return the color by solving these puzzles. And it's all to do with like prisms and triangles and sort of picking up objects and doing different things to like make the color return. I liked how it kind of returns in stages. So I think you first got green, and then it's blue, and then red, and like taking away the color from one space might add it to another, or things like that. Yeah, it's a very short game. I don't think it took more than maybe half an hour, 40 minutes or something. And I mean, there's a hint system in game, which is always quite nice as well. If you're ever a bit stuck, you don't feel like you have to be looking at a walkthrough. I really like the concept. I like the puzzles are based around color. To be honest, I just wanted a bit more. Like I enjoyed it. I wish they kind of built on it more and maybe made it a little bit longer. But I really like the concept, and I know they're working, I think, on a kind of sequel to it, because a lot of it had a really good reaction. So hopefully that will be a bit lengthier and build on that concept more, because they had a good idea there, and I just would have liked to have seen a bit more of it.
Yeah, there's no dialogue at all in the game.
No dialogue. That's another thing. It's all. I mean, that's another thing. Actually, I really like the music, because that comes in at different points depending on the colors and things like that. So that was quite cool. And the point, like a little bit actually, like we'll see with Gone Home, you unlock different parts of the house or the diner that you're in as you do different puzzles. So that was quite cool, like discovering different bits as you go along. Yeah, it's a nice game. I would suggest don't play it on Apple Arcade, because I just found that too difficult to be like trying to look around with my hand. I suppose you could get like a mouse, like a Bluetooth mouse or something, but yeah, I would say get it on the PC, or I think if it's on Switch, I'm not sure. But yeah, no, it's good for like a little sort of, if you want a little break between longer games. That's kind of why I got it, as like a shorter thing to play. But yeah, I was interested.
Yeah, it was cool. And I actually spoke to the developer, Jason Godby, and he'll be appearing on this podcast later this year, where he speaks more about the game, what he wanted to achieve by telling a story without dialogue.
Yeah. And
then some plans that he may have in the future. Now, this interview was done a few months ago, and so he might be working on the sequel in the meantime. But yeah, hopefully, because it does end on kind of a cliffhanger. Which
that was the other thing. I was a bit like, oh, what's this mean? Because it doesn't really explain, and you're left to kind of be a bit like, I don't know what's gone on here, really. But yeah, I don't know if he talks about that more in the interview, but I'll be interested to see what he says.
Yeah, he doesn't speak about the ending of. Obviously, we don't give it away, but he does speak about the game itself and about the story and about the gameplay then as well. And it looked beautiful. I thought, considering just one person making it, I thought, especially when you change the colors in the game as well, with the backgrounds and with the environment, and also the atmosphere, which I mentioned in my review, that I think it nailed the atmosphere. That it felt like Twilight Zone-y, or like Night Vale.
Something watching you, yeah,
like this kind of
very much like that
surreal atmosphere. So, it's available on Steam at least, and on Apple Arcade. But yeah, I can't imagine playing that game, because with the way you move around the cursor,
you've got to be looking everywhere, and you can't really. I mean, maybe it's better. I mean, obviously, Apple Arcade isn't just for the iPad. You can get it on different devices, Apple devices. But I found for the iPad, it didn't really fit.
Right.
Which is a shame, but if you've got maybe a separate mouse, it's probably.
Yeah, I'd say you definitely need to use a mouse.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is Discolored. Now, it is spelled the American way, which I found out it's without the U in it. So if you are searching for it on Steam, I will include links in the show notes as well. But yeah, so thank you, Laura. That is Discolored. So now back again to Laura for the next game.
I'm back again.
Yeah, so you are again our quest queen, and instead of going on a quest, you went on more of a hike this time.
There we go. Yeah.
So it was a short hike. So will it be a short review now?
It's going to be reasonably short. Yeah.
No kidding. So you play this game. I've heard a little bit of it. This game was also part of the bundle. It seems like every game now part of the bundle, which we mentioned on itch.io. But so what can you tell us about a short hike?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. Another review I was reading about this calls it one part Animal Crossing, one part Breath of the Wild, which is quite a mix of games, really. But I kind of get where they're coming from. So basically, it's a very sort of brightly coloured 3D game, and where you're in this sort of animal world, and the basic concept is you are this little bird Claire who has gone to this like camp for the summer, and she's with her aunt, and she needs to get phone signal, but because she's like out in the middle of nowhere, she can't. And her aunt says if you go to the very top of this mountain, there's some signal there. So the idea is you've got to go on this short hike up this mountain. And it reminds me a bit of like Night in the Woods as well, because basically there's this end goal of you've got to climb up this mountain, but along the way there's like all these like sort of different animals that you meet along the way that you can have a chat with, you can catch up with. They've got little sort of side quests, like one of them has lost their camping permit, one of them's lost their watch, one of them wants you to like find 15 shells, and it's all done in this kind of quirky, similar to Night in the Woods sort of comical style. Like they're all kind of quite casually in like informal sort of language, and there's just like little bits to discover along the way. I guess what they're trying to say with Breath of the Wild is you could just go, basically it's got a bit of a platforming element because you need these golden feathers to increase your stamina, which means you can climb up bits of the mountain. When you get nearer the top, it's like quite icy, so there's like an element where like bits your feathers like freeze, so you need more feathers so you can climb higher. So there's kind of that element of it, and you find these feathers scattered around the world as you go along, or if you do certain quests you might get them as well. But it's still quite, I mean, it's probably about a 2 to 3 hour game, I would say, so it is, you know, doable within one session. If you want, you could just climb to the top, and it's like a pretty amazing thing when you do get up there, because they sort of encourage you to then jump off and you kind of swoop around the whole area that you've just spent all this time climbing up. But yeah, it's really cute sort of feel to it as well. Again, like with Night in the Woods, like the people you sort of catch, it's all kind of like a really good feeling, like there's nothing horrible happening, and there's like just cool little secrets that you discover along the way. You learn how to fish, you pick up all these different things, like you unlock different items, like a treasure map where you can like find new things, and a shovel to like dig for these things, and like I said, a fishing rod. And yeah, you just complete little side quests and have fun. There's like a little volleyballing section. So it's all quite good natured and fun, really. And I guess the Breath of the Wild element is like, oh, you're you have to sort of do these platforming bits, but it's got none of the kind of peril of Zelda Breath of the Wild. It's all quite, good natured. And I did find the controls were like a little bit, I had to like rebind them basically, because the ones that they suggested, I was a bit like, oh, I can't be like running and jumping and also like walking on a keyboard. It probably, if you got a gamepad, it'd be easier doing that. But once I'd done that and got that out of the way, then it was pretty sort of easy to play. And yeah, it's just like, I think in Edge's recent compendium of feel good games, which they did like for during lockdown, they did like a list of games that if you want to get away from this all and just feel good, these are the games you can play. And they included that on the list. And I think a lot of people have included it as a kind of nice, natural game that's just kind of fun to play. Nothing really bad is going to happen. It's all quite cheery and humorous. And the soundtrack too is really good. There's got this kind of cool ambient soundtrack where you'll be wandering along and then the sort of like bass of the song will play, and then like the guitar strings will kick in if you go a bit further along into the forest. So it kind of builds up and up until you get the full track, basically. And there's like a couple of different songs in there. And as I said, it's only like about 2 to 3 hours, depending how much, if you want to complete every quest. I don't think I got like most of the things out of it that I wanted to. There's like, you could do races as well with some of the characters. So yeah, it's a lovely world. It's very quaint, but there's a lot to discover, as much as you want to, really. And it's just a nice break from everything, I would say.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, it's nice to go on a hike, at least in the game, because
you do get that feeling, because like there are different parts. So it starts off, you're by the beach, and then builds up and it's all kind of wooded and foresty, and then as you get higher up it's all icy, so there are different elements to it as well.
Nice. Well, yeah, no, I mean, as I said, depending on where you are in the world, it's, we're still at home, we're still in lockdown, so it's nice. And I think it's nice just to have a nice, positive game where bad things
everyone's
don't
nice
happen.
to each other. Everyone's just like, hey, how you doing? And just like really happy to, and like when you play this volleyball game, they were like, wow, you're awesome. And I was like, oh, thank you. It's just like, yay.
I think we need that, because it's as we were saying, it's been a rough year. So I think.
And when was the last time you played volleyball?
Well,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I've never been complimented on it before. So.
Yeah, me playing volleyball or water polo, or we haven't done that, at least not in Ireland, not in a long time.
Yeah.
But no, it sounds nice. And just seeing the screenshots and the videos, it looks really nice, actually.
Yeah, it's there's a lot. It's sort of,
I mean, it looks
in
simple,
a way,
like
lo-fi.
graphics, but still, it looks really nice.
Very colourful.
Yes, that's it. Okay, and is that available on Steam?
Yes, it's on Steam. I think I played it. It was actually free a while back on the Epic Game Store, so I played it on that. But it is available on Steam as well,
and on the Epic Game Store then, obviously, as well. Okay, so you can get it on itch.io, Epic Games, or Steam. So that is a short hike. So, well, thank you, Laura. So now we're going back down to
it's not just me.
So from your hike, then you will probably have gone home.
Cool.
And we're also getting to the end of the episode, so we should be going home then as well. Okay, now the first one works better.
Stop! What? You can't just. It doesn't.
I'm trying to fit the title of the games into the segue.
I know.
So,
I know what you're trying to do.
But it's not working, says you.
Not really, no.
No, okay. Well, I was up, a long time trying to come up with these segues, but see if you guys can do better.
You have to stay up longer then.
Well, anyway, here's a game now that three of us played, which is Gone Home. Now, it's not a new game by any means. It was released in 2013, I believe, originally. It's, so this was, I believe this was the first of what is called Walking Simulator, what to become called an exploration game with basically no puzzles. And so the three of us basically had a chance to play. I believe we got it free on the Epic Store, but it's also available on Steam as well. But Thomas, what can you tell us about this game? So what's the setup of this game?
You asking like it's like this is some kind of test. Like, tell me.
Well, see if you remember.
Come on, Thomas, can you remember what happened?
Well, in this game, you are a girl who returns home from a European trip, and she finds she goes home to a house that she hasn't lived in yet, because her parents and her sister moved to this house. It takes place in Oregon. In the vicinity of Portland somewhere, I think. And she arrives home and nobody's home. It's a house she has never been in. She's never been to, that they inherited from her uncle. And it starts with her finding a note pinned to the front door, from her sister saying she's gone, she's not coming back. The whole goal is basically just to find out what the hell is going on. It's raining like crazy and thunder and everything outside, so you really want to get inside, and it's a kind of a creepy atmosphere. So you start you come home, and this is not a house. This is a mansion. So
It's
yeah,
huge, isn't it?
you come in this hallway. There's this staircase, and this is doors here and there. Some of them are locked. There are you can open drawers, and you start finding things that point you in the right direction. And you start finding more and more things. The more rooms you come across, you find journal. You get journal entries, and you find postcards. And the more you find, the closer you come to finding out what has happened with your sister and why there is no one in the house. And it's very interesting because it's not like you're fighting monsters or anything, because you don't come across anyone in this game. But yeah, you're basically just following the breadcrumbs, and it's got quite a creepy atmosphere, I might add.
Yeah, definitely. I would agree.
That surprised me, actually.
Yeah.
So I was playing it first, but like an hour or so before you guys, and I was like, oh my God, like I've forgotten how creepy this game is. And you were like, oh, it doesn't sound that bad, but like it is. There, especially I think in the first half when you don't really know much of the story. It's
also,
just
because you have no idea what kind of game it is.
Yeah, and let's not spoil kind
No.
of what does happen, but I think they did well with it, like the sound effects, as you say, like the storm outside, and there's also just like it sounds like there's somebody else in the house sometimes, like the sounds of the house. It weirdly like
creaking.
I've played Resident Evil 7 when you're like wandering around that house and there's like the Baker family trying to kill you, and that reminded me a bit of that sometimes, like this big old empty mansion you're wandering around. Like they did well to freak you out quite well.
Yeah, it's from the developers of the BioShock series. At least they worked on BioShock as well.
Makes sense.
But yeah, it definitely was really creepy when you're just exploring this, well, what seems to be an empty house. And the story, I have to say that I was really engaged in it, because you want to know what happened to your sister. Like the first thing that you see is a note that Thomas mentioned from your sister saying, "Don't come looking for me. Don't tell mom and dad. If you do find out where I am, don't tell mom and dad where I am. But just don't come after me." And then you're also like, where are your parents? Why is there nobody at home?
Yeah.
And you have all these, boxes that are there. So obviously people seem to be moving out, but seems that, people just maybe, I don't know if they're left in a hurry. But then there's some things that are a bit off. There's some doors that are locked that you are like, oh, what's down here? And you're always, there's kind of like a feeling of dread that when you explore, when you go into another room, like the basement is locked and you're like, I'm not sure I want to find out what's down here.
Or like when a light breaks or something.
Yeah,
and you're like,
that freaked me out.
Yeah.
And then even when, don't think this is a spoiler, but the room when the television is on?
Yes, the television is creepy as hell.
Yeah, and also they're giving weather warnings because of this big massive storm coming.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, where is my sister? Where are my parents during this storm? What has happened here? And I think the way that the story was told as well, I think it was, I like the fact that it was a story exploration game where you don't need to worry about combat or puzzles in this game. Now, I can understand it might not be for everyone, because if you want puzzles, then I can, people might be disappointed with it.
Although you still had some puzzles to contend with, didn't you, Josh?
This is the new one. So there was...
It was so funny because Laura had finished it and I was close to finishing it. And then all of a sudden we get this text message. There were supposed to be no puzzles in this game.
And there aren't really.
We knew exactly where he was at that point.
Yeah.
This actually brings me to my next one, because the one, not criticism as such, but it is a very dark game. It is very dark, even when you turn the lights on, and it's very easy to miss things. It's very easy to miss hotspots.
Yeah, that's true.
And
that is true.
That's exactly what happened to me, because I was in this room, I had clicked on what I thought were all of the hotspots, and it turns out the most important hotspot was the one hotspot I did not click on, which I missed in the room. And so then I was not able to. I mean, I was able to progress, but I wasn't able to see this part of the of the game without giving anything away. And so that was really where, why I wasn't able to see that thing. And now it is more really, but compared to say something like Drogen, you played that, didn't you, Laura?
Yes,
you played
I
that
did,
last year. So Drogen, I didn't find that had the same issues really. I found out I was able to explore everything, that everything seemed to be clearer in Drogen than in this game.
But I think, I don't know, like, I did find it, so I don't know. I can't.
True,
really...
it could be me. I mean, I know that I'm not always.
I think you were unfortunate.
Right, yeah, because I was right there.
Yeah, I think it was unfortunate that you missed that one. Maybe.
But
I agree, there are a lot of things in it, but that's why I was saying to you before you were playing, look everywhere, because it's just there are a lot of things.
Yeah,
I kind of like that.
I like that in the sense as well. They can just
nothing
explore.
felt like superfluous. Everything felt like it was there for a purpose and told another little bit of the story.
Right, exactly. And no, I mean, I did really enjoy. You also hear some audio journals from your sister through your game as you explore the house and you find out more. And I really loved how the story was told. Like little by little, you, as Thomas mentioned, you get some breadcrumbs in a way, metaphorical breadcrumbs, and you learn more and more about the story little by little. That it's not just one big info dump or exposition dump, and you learn through the environment. It's not just told to you, that you're told, you see through the environment and through exploring the house what happened. And there are kind of two stories, what happened to your sister and then something else which can be missed, which was what I nearly missed. The side plot, which is actually very subtle.
I agree.
Which I didn't realize, because also later on I didn't see another object which would have explained the side plot more. But it's it's definitely a game to get people talking as well, and I think it's also relevant maybe for the times we live in. Without I was kind of not spoiled, but I was kind of told, I kind of read about the topic of the game before playing it, and so it didn't ruin it at all on me. But it was. And then the developers have included in the settings, so you can have all doors unlocked from the start and all the lights turned on at the start. And you can include a developer commentary as well. So this is probably if you've already played the game. And there's also a very nice Easter egg, which I showed to you guys. Remember that? I didn't get this, but it was very funny.
Yes, I guess we won't spoil it now, but it was quite a weird Easter egg.
Yeah, it just kind of seems like, I don't know if many people get it.
No.
But and I think that's why developers included it, just kind of like as a joke as well. But also it's not a terribly long game. It took how long did it take? Was it?
It took me 170 minutes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it took me.
And I had some technical issues, so I had to restart 2 times.
Oh yeah, it kept crashing on you. Weird.
Yeah, my computer was acting up. So.
Oh, that's a shame. No, I didn't have any technical issues at all with it. And as I said, the graphics as well are really nice, really clear, apart from, the hotspots, which I mentioned. But it's very clear when you're exploring, the house, the bedrooms.
That hotspot was only not clear to you, Saoirse.
Yeah, sorry. That's not the game's issue there.
So you're saying it's me then?
We both got it, I think.
Yeah, it's 100% you.
Sorry.
Okay.
We
Fair
can't
enough.
blame the game for that.
The game was terrible because of it.
This is why it's good to have a collection of reviews.
Yes. No. I mean, I am kidding. It's but no, I thought that everything was very clear. That the graphics, I thought they looked really, really good. And especially, and also it was funny when you can pick up objects. What you were saying, that at first, at least, I was putting the objects back down. And what did you do, Laura?
Just throw them around. It's like, whee! I put some of them back if I was like, oh, these look important. Like, I don't want to lose them. But others, I was just like, whoa!
Yeah, but it's also because I had any knowledge about this game when I started it. And I had no idea if any of these objects were going to be useful or not. I'm with that old school adventure gamer's mind. Is you pick up everything, you stuff everything in your pocket, but that's not possible here.
No,
because the only thing that the game automatically keeps for you are keys.
Yeah,
So,
like we have to put it back. No, I just want to put it in my bottomless pocket.
yeah.
But no, it is very realistic that way. And also, I think I showed you the video as well. It is possible to finish this in less than a minute.
Yeah, but that's cheating.
That's cheating. I mean, you have to know exactly where to look and what to do. So I think it's only possible to do that maybe.
You're basically skipping the entire story if you do that.
Exactly.
There's no point in it, obviously.
So we wouldn't tell people to do it, but it is possible.
It's quite fun to do it after the fact, I guess, after you...
Yeah.
But yeah.
But no, I really enjoyed it. I think that all three of us really enjoyed it.
Yeah, what I really liked here was that right up until the end, you still have no idea what kind of game it is.
Right.
And that's done brilliantly. It is very well written. I really, really, really enjoyed this game, and thank you, Laura, for recommending it because it was a lot of fun to play, despite it being quite creepy at times.
Yeah, I agree. I think it definitely keeps you guessing. You just really not sure which. I mean, I'd played it before and I was still I couldn't quite remember. I was like, what does happen here? How? But yeah, as you say, really good environmental storytelling. There's excellent bits, like you find out the name. I won't give too much away of this ranger that like comes to sort of work with the mum, and then there's like little tidbits about what goes on there, and you don't have to find that element of the story at all, but like you just pick up little things, little letters that people have sent, and it's really difficult to tell a story through that and to like build up that kind of world without you never meet a character in that game, but you feel that you do.
Yeah.
And I have to say as well, another thing is the voice acting is great of your sister who sort of speaks the journals, who reads out the journals as you sort of find them throughout the house or find the things that sort of trigger that. I just thought the way she sort of told each little bit of the journal, you really believed what was being said and her life. I just thought that was a really good element of it, because if that had gone wrong, if you'd got someone else that you couldn't quite believe, I don't think you'd have bought into the story as much.
No,
right,
no.
And it's the same actor as well who plays the two sisters.
Oh, is it both? I thought it was different people.
No, it's the same. So again, that tells you how good she was.
Yeah. Didn't realize. I guess you don't really hear your character that much.
Right, yeah, it's mainly the sister. But as you mentioned, there's great character development for basically no other characters that are on screen. And we find out about the sister and about the father as well. He goes on a journey. We find out there's character development of him just by seeing objects, just by reading letters, because he's
by finding objects under other objects.
Yes.
And then having that object be a foreshadowing of something else that's happening later in the game. It's really well done. This game is really well done.
And I don't know about you guys, but I was kind of like wanting to read the books that he was writing. I know they're cheesy, that they were, but I was like, those look interesting.
They sounded fun.
Yeah, they did sound quite fun.
They did sound like fun books. Like books that would now spawn a multi-million-dollar movie franchise.
Yeah. And but then you hear when you read letters, about the father then as well, and to your father, and you find out more about him as well, just through these letters and just through the environment. So it was really, really well done. I really, really enjoyed it. And you can play like what we did. We played it an afternoon, on a Sunday afternoon. Actually, the best time to play it would be is if there's, wherever people are, if there is a particular storm or if it's raining. Can you imagine playing it then?
Which is basically every day in Ireland, so.
Oh, that's true.
Lately, yeah. But yeah, that would be kind of just if you have a lazy Sunday afternoon that you want something to play and just play something, I would definitely recommend Gone Home, and I think we all would. It's
absolutely.
It's definitely. And this has spawned a subgenre as well, because since then there have been many games like this. What Remains of Edith Finch, I believe, and The Vanishing of Ethan Carter, and I mentioned Drogon, and Everybody's Gone to the Rapture as well. I haven't played. Yes, all of these kinds of games that, and I have bought The Suicide of Rachel Foster, which I want to play as well, and just compare that as well. And So it has sparked off its own subgenre of games. And clearly there is a market for it. And I know that it's not everyone's cup of tea, that I know some people have been dismissive of it, calling it a walking simulator. But I mean, I wouldn't want every game to be like this, but I think it's great, just if you want to sit back and relax and focus on the story.
It works for the game.
Yeah,
exactly.
I think the game would not work if this was a shooter or whatever, or even if it was or if it was an old school adventure game, because it would all take away from the experiencing the story, and the fact that you get so many things, that you encounter so many objects or things along the way that at first might throw you off, but with hindsight make complete sense, and they manage to. Yeah, it's just a really well done game. That's all I can. And
it's paced perfectly as well.
Yes,
if it was much longer, you'd start getting a bit bored. But there's enough intrigue and it just ends at the right time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I said just to explore the house itself, it was really nice as well. It was just a perfect game to play in one sitting, and it'll still have a lasting effect on you as well. So I think we'd all definitely recommend Gone Home. And did you play, was it Chacoma as well? Is that the same company?
They did. I haven't played that actually, but
have you played it, Thomas? Did you play?
Which one?
Chacoma?
I think it's Tacoma.
Tacoma.
Let me have a look.
It doesn't ring a bell.
I know which one you mean.
I thought, Thomas, you'd played it, but no, if you hadn't, maybe I'm just making it up. But
well, I have played a lot, but that name doesn't ring a bell at the moment, so...
But yeah, I'm really, really curious. I'd really like to try that game out now. So,
Tacoma. Sorry, Tacoma.
Tacoma, yeah. No, I haven't played it, but I think
it's similar. It's set aboard a space station.
And it's more like
sounds like something I play.
Yeah, and it's you're exploring the stations, how the station's crew lived and worked, and finding clues that add up to what happened. So again, it's Gone Home in space, basically. It sounds like, but that's no bad thing.
No, I'm very curious to try it out now. So
yeah.
So that is then Gone Home.
Dear Katie, so much has changed. I used to tell you everything, and if I can't do it in person, I'll tell it to this journal, just like I was talking to you. We moved into this house. I'm in a new school. It doesn't feel real, but I'm not gonna let it faze me. I'm so sorry that I can't tell you all this myself. But I hope as you read this journal that you'll understand why I had to do what I did. Don't be worried, okay? We'll see each other again. Someday.
And I think we would definitely recommend it. So you can get it on Steam and on Epic Games. And I don't know if you can get it on... I mean, I think it's available for consoles as well, if I remember correctly.
This game would be perfectly playable for consoles. So
that was Gone Home, and now it's probably time for us to go home. So.
Well, we are home. Yay! We made it.
And should you be listening to us from the past, yes, we are still in the pandemic era.
Yeah.
So we are all from the future. Sorry, my brain is fried. Sorry.
Oh, we could be listening from the past.
It would be awesome if you could listen from the past.
Well, that'd be weird. And I think on that note, I just want to mention as well, we are on Patreon. If people want to help support us, this is a very independent podcast. We pay for everything ourselves, for the website and everything, and for the equipment. So if anybody wants to help support us, they can check it out on patreon.com. And then you get a few extras as well, depending on the tiers. So you get episodes that are out, so you get early access to episodes. And then sometimes you get some extra episodes. There are some spoiler episodes with developers of games. So there are some spoiler interviews that I did with James Dearden, with the developer of Whispers of a Machine, and with Agustin Cordes for Scratches, amongst others. And coming up will be a spoiler special with the developers of Interrogation, which was really interesting.
Oh, cool.
And a couple of other things as well. So you also hear some, anytime there are announcements or anything, you guys will be the first to hear on Patreon. So thank you to all the current Patreon subscribers.
And Twitter. You can follow us on Twitter.
Yes, so social media, we're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram.
Discord.
And join our Discord.
Yes, we're, at least the three of us are active there, but it has become more active.
People are.
Thank you to people there on Discord. We had some very nice discussions there. And also, I should say this more often as well, but as well, if you could, to leave a short review of the podcast, if you wish, on Apple Podcasts, and I believe other places as well. The link is in the show notes to ratethispodcast.com/Adventure Games Podcast. So you can even leave a rating and even leave a review. You can have even just a 1 or 2 line review as well. It would really help the podcast. It would really help visibility of the podcast and help the developers who come on as well. So, yeah. So, you guys playing anything now in particular?
Yes.
Well, you're playing about 5 games. You know what you're playing next?
I have. So next time I will have a quick chat around She Sees Red, because I've just played that, which I did enjoy. I'm actually just getting into Blade Runner, with an much older adventure game, which I never played first time round.
Oh,
I did.
Yeah.
Oh, I need to replay that.
Yeah, I'm thinking of replaying that as well. I bought it when it was when it came out on GOG.
Yeah, same.
So,
that's why I thought I'd give it a go. So yeah, I'll probably give that a go. And then hey, let's see
what
else I can get through.
Oh, that's very nice. And you, Thomas?
I am playing Hand of Glory. I just started that. I just only played for literally like 5 minutes because I was really tired this week. It was a tough week. I was playing Boreal Tales, but I hit a snafu there, so I need to wait till that gets fixed for me. So I'll continue with Hand of Glory, and who knows what else will float my way in the next few weeks.
Very nice. Well, I just finished playing yet another hero story, which I'll be reviewing in more detail next time. And I also I have started the last episode of Life is Strange, finally. Before the Storm prequel, so I hope to finish that. It's long enough every episode, about 5 hours, so I was trying to find a time to play that as well. And I'm also playing Disco Elysium, which I'm not going to go into detail here because we've spoken a lot about that, and we'll see what else I get a chance to play. So that is it for this week. Next week, I will be joined by Red Martyr Entertainment, who are developing Saint Kotar. So by the time this episode goes out, actually, the prologue for Saint Kotar, called Saint Kotar the Yellow Mask, will be out, and their Kickstarter will have started as well. I'm definitely backing it because I've been curious, been really interested anyway, but it seems to be really nice, horror vibes, so vibes of, Gabriel Knight or Silent Hill. And from speaking with the developer, it seems like this could be a really, really good game. So I really want to help them as much as I can. And they have some really good voice actors. They have some A-list talent. They have Happy Anderson, who is most famous on Manhunter, the TV series. He was on that. So next week you'll hear from my interview with the developer of Saint Kotar. So, and we will be back then in 2 weeks, the three of us. So. Until then, hope everyone stays well, stays safe. So
and keep on questioning.
You guys.
Look after yourselves.
So if you like the Adventure Games podcast, then please subscribe, rate, and review. Wherever you listen to podcasts, please leave a review on iTunes if you can, as every review helps, and reviews will help get the word out, especially for adventure game developers who appear on the podcast.
Now, you can also follow me on social media. You can follow me on Twitter at AdventGamePod. You can follow me on Facebook at Adventure Games Podcast. You can also follow me on Instagram at Adventure Games Podcast as well. And we're also on Discord at Adventure Games Podcast. So if you are a Adventure Game developer or a Adventure Game player, you can follow us there. So again, please feel free to retweet and share podcast episodes and the podcast to people who you believe may enjoy it. And you can also find more information about the podcast on www.adventuregamespodcast.com. So until next time, thank you.